Well, presuming it is. So good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today. As I mentioned, my name is Joshua Scharnweber. I work as a sales engineer here at Waylay. And today I'm going to help you understand how using Waylay you can get the most of your industrial assets indeed. So a couple of words just to Waylay, to the company. We are based here in Ghent in Belgium. We were founded about 6 years ago. Now it has been a really good journey. So about a year later, we had the first customers in production already. 2018, we earned a nice title from Gartner. And as of this year, we have more than 50 enterprise customers and are happily growing. With regards to our products, it's what we call an IoT data processing low-code software. The benefits that we give our customers are a higher return on IoT, faster time to market, and a competitive total cost of ownership. So we really see that our customers, when they start applying our solution, are immensely able to reduce their R&D cycle times in developing IoT solutions, allowing a really high turnover. Now, the features is IoT data automation. We bridge the gap, as we like to say, between IT and OT through doing that, and we also have very good data analysis, machine learning operations for that. With regards to the deployment, we obviously see that, especially in industry, there are a certain set of features that need to be adhered in terms of security, but also latency. Now, there are different ways in which we can apply Waylay. We can host Waylay for you, but also it can be hosted in a customer cloud. You know, we're all aware of the big cloud providers out there. And we also have a thick edge deployment available here. So quite versatile in that end. With regards to our customers, our focus is certainly on industrial automation, manufacturing, but we also have HVAC and building management. Our customer base is global. We obviously grew out of Belgium, but we are happy to serve customers all over the globe. Now, what you can see here is basically a couple of statements that we see in the IoT world, in the IIoT world especially. We really see that the classical automation pyramid, according to ISA 95, is disrupted by IIoT. The wireless technology means that we can get data very distributed from remote locations as well without the need of extensive cabling, digging up the ground. Our assets are all becoming more intelligent. And through IIoT, we're really able to connect those assets and act upon this data, whereby we are using the cloud services that are available and that Waylay gives us. So here's a selection of the typical use cases that our customers have and appreciate us for. Most are around condition monitoring related to that, KPIs, integrity, reliability measurement. Related to that as well, the predictive and preventative maintenance we're able to deduce. We have alarm management capabilities. Very often we see as well that we're actually offering technology that enables our customers to change their business models. So going away from maybe selling an equipment in a simple box and really being able to use what is said here, equipment as a service, where a customer, through the collection and connection of the data and the corresponding business processes, is able to sell the equipment operating hours rather than the actual equipment. Now, how is this being done? Here you can see the platform overview from Waylay. So we're able to ingest data from various sources in the IoT, OT space. It could be specifically arranged IoT sensors. We can interface with PLCs, get the data from any gateways, SCADAs, distributed control system, and also service and maintenance systems, as well as more sort of business-related data sources like an ERP or CRM system. This data is then coming to our platform, and here we have basically three pillars: the Waylay automation, which is our very powerful and easy to configure low-code rule engine, where we can define business workflows. We also have a very extensive set of data analytics capabilities, where we can do data processing and do things like anomaly detection, prediction, and time to target. we're also able to host here externally created machine learning models and can include them in our workflows. We also have a Waylay dashboard that integrates very nicely with our solution. It is multi-tenant, meaning that as an OEM manufacturer, you're able to use our dashboard as well, specifically on your subset of clients. And clients actually are empowered to a great extent, being able to acknowledge alarms, for instance, that are visible through the dashboard, but also configure simple rules themselves, setting thresholds, for instance. And now the customer value can be consumed in different ways. It could be indeed in a sort of dashboard setting where we follow the eye on a glass approach, but we can also interface with other systems. If you already have existing Power BI or Grafana dashboards, we can push the data to that. Or in a more elaborate way, we can obviously use the notification services as well if indeed it is not required to, or thereby enabling an interface by which the total monitoring at all times is not required. Now, one of Waylay's strength really is what we call the democratization of equipment insights. If we use Waylay, and we can see a screenshot here on the left, you basically have access to this very intuitive and low-code interface by which you can configure your own business rules. And if you, as the domain expert, are able to use our platform, then without any coding requirements, you can configure and deploy the workflows directly. An alternative solution is shown here on the left, where we have a homegrown rules implementation, which typically involves a lot of R&D cycles, which means going back and forth between the knowledge owners and indeed the solution providers, leading to a large number of R&D cycles. We often see that those type of solutions don't really scale or lack functionality and being able to really maintain complex use cases as well. And we see that it's time and resource intensive. So coming back to our solution, we really offer fast and quick turnaround cycle times and the availability to operate at scale. We also have very strong device management capabilities through what we call a provisioning or onboarding process. So shown here are basically what we call rule templates. You can see them. They're really nice and good to look at, are very easy to explain and also modify if need be. And we allow you basically through our platform to develop one or more of those rule templates, associate them with a certain resource device type, and that could be a pump of a certain manufacturer type, could be a heat exchanger as we see in the bottom left, or maybe a certain type of valve, really any equipment that you might have in that sphere. And by onboarding that, the pre-configured rule templates will automatically instantiate it, which is very good and easy in terms of operation. Now, we're not only with our solution able to monitor industrial equipment, but we can also really monitor the products that are being produced in manufacturing plants, so be it the oil and gas industry, chemical industry, you name it. And that's basically how this is typically done. Traditionally is that you have very extensive sampling plans. There's an example shown here on the left, which tells you that every 3 hours or every hour, you'd have to take quality measurements through a sample, analyze that in a laboratory, and feed the information back. That's being used for two things. One, to obviously ensure that the product supplies to a certain quality, and indeed, if this is not the case, then that might lead to scrap, of course. So what we're able to do now with the abundance of data that we now have, and the ability to predict certain parameters based maybe on simple process parameters, meaning that rather than having to take samples, we can constantly calculate the equipment quality properties and act very fast on those. So we are reducing the time intervals of action, basically. This does not necessarily mean that we will suggest to our customers to scrap their existing sampling plans and quality inspection procedures, but it is a nice additional feature that might reduce scrap in the long run. So following now are a couple of slides where I would like to talk about customer use cases specifically. I mentioned before that using our platform, being able to bring together the information on the equipment, but also interfacing with other systems, we allow our customers to change their business models. So we have had success in working with some customers who are now no longer selling their equipment as a one-off engagement, but we all realize that it is good to be very close to the customer through the life cycle of a product as well. Now, in this case, we have a device manufacturer that is now monitoring the operation hours, and through an SLA, they are charging their customers not on the initial sale, but also on the actual operation of this equipment. And Waylay is basically the backbone of this operation, collecting the data from those equipments and feeding it back to customer service systems such as Salesforce or ServiceNow or Zendesk, you name it. So we have interfaces for those systems as well. Shown here is a specific use case where we implemented a water pump failure detection mechanism. So this is a screenshot of one of our modules, which is called the Time Series Analytics Designer. And what you can see here on the top is basically the system water level of a water pit. You can see it's going up and down periodically, and related to that on the supporting series below, you see that there are two pumps connected to that system, and we can see the power consumption at certain intervals as well. And what we can basically do using Waylay here is create a specific rule template that extracts the information from both devices, does some number crunching on that, sees whether there's an overlay, and indeed, if once one of the pumps is running, the water level is actually going down. And depending on whether this is actually the case, we're taking actions here, which could be simple dialogue box in our system or to the operator, or we can raise an alarm. We're very flexible on the actuation side. Shown here is a slide with a couple of use cases from one of our partners who are using our machine learning modules. So what they're basically doing is collecting data from equipment. What we can see here is the equipment is a fan, basically, where we're collecting the data, running a machine learning model, calculating a probability score, and if that score is above a certain threshold, we take prescriptive action with all the information that the person in charge indeed requires to go and resolve the issue. On the right here, we're looking at the monitoring of a heat exchanger. This is actually a screenshot of a dashboard that is built on the Waylay technology. And again, here we can, through machine learning models or simple display of parameters, we are able to display to the operator if actions need to be taken. This dashboard here is shown here in a bit of a nicer resolution. So here the use case is pump cavitation monitoring. Again, we are flexible in what we can do with those dashboards. In addition to just showing simple values, we can show graphs as well on the time series database. And whilst at the front end, there might be just a simple alarm field here, like telling you that there is no cavitation at the moment. We have at the back end a machine learning model that crunches through the data that we receive from that pump. And if indeed an anomaly is detection in that way, then we would see an alarm in this case. There's obviously complex logic as well by which we can take things like a pump status as well into account and only act upon certain things based on equipment statuses, for instance. I mentioned before our alarming capabilities as well. So you can see here a tab which is alarms, by which a user can then acknowledge those alarms, which will then change the interface on the dashboard. And it's also able to create tasks here, depending on certain thresholds directly by the user. So with regards to asset maintenance optimization, the title of this presentation, as you remember, is the journey from raw asset data to field service intervention. So how does this really look from beginning to end? Waylay is able to, through gateways or otherwise, get the information from the assets that you can see here on the top. We're also able to interface, and this is really our strength, with many other systems and then orchestrate that information. So it could be a distributed control system or any sort of enterprise asset monitoring system by which we get reports about service and maintenance. We can then, in our very powerful rule engine, also compare the different parameters and have certain very complex rules as well that gives maybe a certain weight to parameters depending on how long ago maybe the last service interval was. So you can give a certain higher weighting, for instance, to information received directly by a field service engineer. And based on the concatenated values then, similar to the probability score that we saw on a previous slide, we can then take action, and this action could be the creation of a case, maybe in the SAP PM system, the Ultimo or Accurant. We have connectors available for all of those, or on a more sort of business-centric environment that can also be done through things like a Zendesk system, maybe ServiceNow or Salesforce, as I mentioned before. So what are the benefits of the Waylay solution? We are really convinced by the feedback of our customers that we can build applications or allow you to build applications about 10 times faster. We provide the ideal tool chain to productize and valorize deep domain expertise on industrial processes and machines. If you remember the democratization of knowledge, really, being able to distribute knowledge that might be kept in a couple of experts' heads, we're able to, through our tools, to really build that into what we call the rule templates, which you remember, and then distribute that through across the whole enterprise. We can, with our platform, support an unlimited number of use cases, assets, and customers with just our foundation. As I mentioned, the platform is really low code. So, this is one of the great benefits where it's a very visual interface where you can just drag and drop and connect different code blocks, which are pre-configured. And it makes for a very strong use case in terms of explainability and operability as well. With regards to deployment, it's a white-labeled development that we can do. We can host in the big clouds that you can see and on-site, of course, as mentioned here. Now, whilst this call was unfortunately only 20 minutes long, and I decided not to actually run through a demonstration, I would very much welcome your feedback on that as well. And if indeed you were interested, then I would love to hear from you. You can see my email address here, josh@waylay.io, and I'd be very happy to give you a product demonstration drawing on all the information I gave you today. So thank you very much for participating here today. And as I said, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.